Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Experts podcast. We are grateful to each and every one of you who tune in and week out to listen, learn, and grow. As entrepreneurs, it's never easy. We all face diverse and challenging roles. And the question comes down to how do we navigate through those challenges for business growth? My guest today, I'm excited to share our conversations. Who is Minou Clark and what does she do? Well, Minou has quite the resume, quite the award. She's recognized for, being an industry leader. So Minou is a newly appointed CEO of RealSelf. Minou is a bold, visionary leader. She is recognized for revolutionizing the digital media businesses. She has earned a reputation for driving growth for global brands and Fortune 500 companies, including Walmart, Amazon, Taco Bell, and L'Oreal. As VP of Paris Hilton's 1111 Media, Minou fueled 70% of audience growth, generating to 1 billion video views in 2023. Minou has earned an award-winning leadership recognition. She is named as Adweek's top 50 business leaders in 2023, Cannes Lions finalist for brand excellence and social content marketing in 2023. Minou is not just a business leader. She is a trailblazer who is creating content, brand moments that create results. Minou, it's an honor and welcome to Ask the Experts.
Thank you so much for having me, Alka. I am very, very excited to have what will undoubtedly be a really fun and invigorating conversation with you.
Absolutely. You know what? Let's get into it. And, it's more organic. So that's what I like to share with entrepreneurs, their journey, how have they overcome their obstacles and challenges in life and in business. Explain to us, Minou, your early childhood. What were those memories like that really shape you, that's indicative of who you are today, that defines who you are, and what makes you the entrepreneur, the successful entrepreneur you are today?
I had a very fun and loving and playful childhood. I had the privilege of having two parents who are both very hardworking. My mother is in finance, but has a huge passion for contemporary art and painting. And my father passed away, but he was in the music industry and very entrepreneurial as well. So, with two parents who had professional careers, but a lot of creative artistic outlets and interests, I was very encouraged to explore and discover new things and be exposed to every different kind of extracurricular activity a child could be curious about exploring. And my family really allowed me to do that self discovery without restraints, without being pushed into a certain direction. And as a result, I kind of dabbled in a lot of different interests and activities growing up. I loved performing arts, everything from singing, acting, dancing, writing. I loved the fine arts. I loved painting. I loved sculpting. I loved sports. At one point was on a basketball team before everyone got taller than me. I was on a swim team. I skied. I played tennis. So I was very
Wow.
well-rounded and given truly free reign of the landscape of things that I could explore and dabble in. I think a lot of that freedom to kind of become a little bit of a jack of all trades and operate without restraints and with encouraged creativity is a lot of how I lead my team. It's a lot of how I approach business. I find humans who are exposed to different types of perspectives, ways of thinking, different kinds of teams or sports or rehearsals or choirs or whatever it is you're getting into, I find that that exposes you to characteristics that only strengthen your ability to lead with compassion. It allows you to land a career that you feel genuinely passionate about without feeling like you're ticking a box to please a family goal or something to please your peers. Like it really
Mhm.
comes down to you and your heart and what makes you excited. And so I find a lot of that freedom in my childhood showed me the importance of operating that way. And it's how I've been able to not just build a career that's been successful on paper, but genuinely a career that I've loved from the beginning. And, leaders who love their job and love what they get to do often encourage and inspire the same positivity from their employees. And that's one of the most fun parts of my job.
That is so beautiful. And I liked, when we excel, as you said, in your early childhood, you excelled in so many areas in life. That really helps, that helped to shape you. And for most of us, that's what we yearn to do. And oftentimes, when we are excelling in those particular fields, we might compare, oh, well, such and such is better than I am, or, so there comes down to that point as well. And I really like that, the perspective from the standpoint that no one is better than anyone. We're all equal.
I love that kind of leadership and team membership. At RealSelf, we're a very flat organization. Pretty much everyone is at most a degree separated from the C-suite. We are very sort of founder mode style in our leadership in the sense that no task is too big or too small.
Yeah.
And that goes for me as the CEO down to my intern who could be doing a task that's just as menial as something I'll have to do, and then just as big and exciting as something I'll have to do. We like a meritocracy and giving people an opportunity to shine and contribute and go above and beyond without ego, without a territorial behavior. It reminds me of my childhood getting to lead that way and allowing my employees to color outside the lines and raise their hand for things they wouldn't normally, dare contribute to. We, of course, have swim lanes, but they're not things that we guardrail and are precious about. What we care about is results. We're a results driven organization. And so, truly, like every win or every project is a team effort. And it's been awesome to sort of foster an environment where ego and hierarchy are not the defining factors in who gets to do incredible work.
Absolutely. And you've created that culture, and we talk about culture in a minute, but that's what it comes down to. That culture, the environment, you are the one to cultivate that for your employees to gain success in,
Mhm.
everyday tasks that they are doing. What is the most stressful about, your job, and how do you deal with the stress?
You know,
Are you ever stressful?
it's definitely got stressful moments, but I'll say even when I was at the beginning of my career and an intern making $10 an hour at NBC, that had stressful moments too. I think the pieces of the stress that matter the most to me are the fact that I am a first-time CEO, a female
Mhm.
CEO, and a young CEO. And so I feel a responsibility to represent people striving for a similar goal really well and also face different types of adversity and sensibilities and behaviors and microaggressions that perhaps a more seasoned counterpart and certainly a male counterpart would not. I think those are the moments that maybe they're a little stressful, but more than anything, they motivate me. I think of those moments all the time and they fuel my conviction to succeed. But those are some of the elements of a CEO role that get heightened and are new to me and things that I'm learning to navigate. I'm 6 months in, and it's super apparent that while it's unbelievably, you know, lucky and fun and gratifying to get this opportunity, it's very obvious that there aren't many people who fit my demographic and profile who do get this opportunity. So I'd say there's a healthy pressure to succeed and be a good advocate and good representative of that type of journey, because there are a lot of people who look up to that and are excited at the prospect of leading a company and aren't necessarily a founder. And the number of non-founder female CEOs is so small. So
Yes.
that's been something that's been very top of mind for me since I took this role. And while it has stressful elements, it certainly has a ton of motivation.
Absolutely. And I think that motivation drives you every single day, because when you have that passion, you have that fire, and you know that you're working with a company that is, very close to your heart, very close to, individuals, that, that gives you that passion, that fire. And, when it comes down to, yes, so when it comes down to, the stressful moments, but it's those stressful moments that really has shaped you. And I'm so proud of you, Minu. I really followed your journey. And, Lily's been talking about you too. So that's just been absolutely just incredible to, sit with you today, and to have this conversation with you. What's the skill set that you look for when you are hiring individuals?
Hunger. Honestly, I'm most interested in people who want to do great work, not people who've already done exactly what the job description entails. People who are teachable and hungry are my favorite hires of my career. I've hired people who started out as an intern and now lead entire teams within a very short period of time because they put in the work, they had the ambition, and they bring passion to the role. So
Hmm.
oftentimes when I'm searching for talent, I'm looking for teachable personalities. I'm looking for hungry work ethic and culture fit. Right now, I think the vision of a company or the vision of a CEO is only as good as the team that's executing it.
Hmm.
And you need a team that really believes in that end goal and can operate as culture champions, because ultimately we work more than we spend time with our friends, family, or loved ones. And I want people who are excited about that, not dreading it. So I've been actually actively recruiting for a handful of very, very pivotal roles at RealSelf as we continue to expand and double down on our strategy. And truly, a lot of the best conversations I've been having so far are with people who felt hungry, ambitious, but maybe at an overly matrixed large corporation with too much red tape and bureaucracy and politics for them to truly shine.
Hmm.
A lot of those prospective candidates are the ones who excite me the most.
That is beautiful. And when someone's hungry, when an individual is hungry, that they really want to do their best. Have you found though, when you hire those individuals, they're hungry, but then they lack the motivation. Have you found that?
I've certainly found they're hungry, but they feel like they need to boil the ocean. Like,
Hmm.
if an individual is really ambitious but hasn't been given a fair shot to have full ownership, and then suddenly I'm offering them that amount of freedom, it can feel difficult to force rank your priorities or do the things that matter. You feel like the sky's the limit, which can also be crippling because you don't know where to begin. So I do find there are different workflows at RealSelf that allow you to kind of ground and anchor what you're doing. We have company-wide OKRs and metrics that we measure ourselves against that really help steer how someone would prioritize their time and how we would track against that. So I find those kinds of structures help a seasoned veteran just as much as someone who's really hungry and greener and coming in for the first time to, a big list of responsibilities. So it's not so much a lack of motivation. I think it's more like they're being given such a huge landscape of opportunity that they didn't have otherwise. And so sometimes it can be difficult to figure out where's the most important place to start. What are the things that actually matter the most to the business to do? but we have an incredible leadership team. We have great workflows and processes that help kind of navigate through that noise. And I'm a big believer in force ranking. You'll never get everything done, but if you get the three most important things done and you just keep going down that list, you're doing the right things. And that's just as true for my employees as it is for myself.
Right. And so that's how you motivate individuals to like really push them and tell them that they have potential. And I'm sure we all have the potential. We all want that drive. We all have that drive, and we want to excel and do well. But then there comes a point, I'm sure you might have experienced from your employees, that there comes a point that we feel overwhelmed. Well, what do we do now?
Yeah,
What is-
absolutely. And I think at RealSelf and even my previous role, with Paris Hilton at 1111 Media, there's a beauty in having a lean, agile team, but it comes as a double-edged sword because work-life balance can enter this gray area because there's a lot to do, but not a lot of humans to do it. I think what I'm really proud of at RealSelf is we have a lot of honesty and healthy tension in our company. It's not a group of kind of yes people or an echo chamber. People feel comfortable saying when they need extra resources or need extra support or help. And we've experienced plenty of that in my 6 months here, but we'll bring on additional hands, whether it's a consultant, a full-time role, an intern, a different tool. We're constantly kind of fine-tuning how can we operate efficiently and get what we want to get done accomplished without our employees, you know, losing sleep and losing sight of the fact that while our work is important, in the grand scheme of things, our life is important. And to that end, we've rolled out a lot of policy around that. We have unlimited time off now. We give people their birthdays off. We observe every possible federal holiday and then some. We do summer Fridays. Like we
Right.
really, really encourage people to find balance because it doesn't take a lot of time actually to burn out, but it takes a lot of time to recover from burnout. And I've lived that. So
Yes.
that's been a big piece of our sort of like culture refresh at RealSelf is ensuring that while we really want to streamline and optimize the team and be efficient, we don't want to be unrealistic and create a workflow that's untenable.
How do you maintain a streamlined organization?
I feel like it's a constant exercise of everyone being as emotionally unattached as possible to process and being self-aware and reflecting. We're constantly having conversations internally with each other around whether a tool we've been using for years is still the right solution, or a meeting cadence is still the right cadence, or is our performance review process equipping people to truly succeed, or does it feel like it's a lot of buzzwords? We're always in this mode of fine tuning and like nipping and tucking. And and I mean that like not just myself or HR, but truly like everyone throughout the organization and every team is encouraged to think that way. I don't think you'll ever hit a formula that sticks and works forever because humans evolve, businesses evolve. And so I think that self-reflection is really critical so that you don't get attached to a process that you outgrow or that becomes stale and doesn't serve you or the business.
Exactly. That's right. So true. You always want to keep it fresh. So it keeps your employees motivated too at the same time. What are the different experiences that you have learned from the different bosses makes you a good leader? What do you think of those experiences that you've
Yeah, I
learned?
mean, I can throw a lot of credit to 1111 Media, to be honest.
Mhm.
Working for Paris Hilton and also learning from her husband, Carter Ream, who's a VC entrepreneur, and learning from the president of 1111 Media, Bruce Gersh, who's a media veteran himself. They created a very unique environment that was truly a meritocracy. If you're good at something, you can do that. We would have campaigns designed entirely by a 22-year-old intern because she was gifted. But then we
Wow.
would also have campaigns designed by, a total seasoned veteran who's, you know, in a C-suite level at their career. I think the way they gave people that freedom, it kind of pushed and motivated young employees to step up to the plate in ways they didn't think they'd get to for years. And as a result, that allows your more senior employees to really recognize, okay, we're operating at a really high bar. I may be a senior level employee with maybe more jurisdiction technically, but I need to step it up too because my intern is spearheading a multi-million dollar campaign single-handedly. And a lot of that inspired my leadership style. It also brought out the best work in myself. My career, no doubt thrived and grew exponentially thanks to that environment. So I think of them a lot when I'm coming up with who should lead projects or who should lead meetings or where do I throw ownership opportunities. I tend to really keep that in mind, keep that meritocracy alive. I've certainly also had bosses prior to that who, didn't allow that and it totally cannibalized growth. It's oftentimes why I would leave previous roles. I felt like I had more to give, but wasn't being given that opportunity to even try. And I was hungry to grow and learn. And so I left because I wanted an environment that would foster that. So I often think about, how important it is to do that because ultimately people leave people, not companies. And the people you surround yourself with, you need to feel like they're bringing out the best in you and they're vouching for you and advocating for you. So that matters a lot to me at RealSelf. And it's a total privilege to get to actually create it myself versus in all my previous roles, you'll have opinions about leadership or you'll have opinions about opportunities, but you don't really get the direct control to shape that until you're a CEO. And I've found that aspect of the role really gratifying and challenging for sure, but I love it. It's great.
I love that point you made. People need to be given the autonomy, given the free reign as to their talents, their capabilities, the potential they have. Because if you're always that micromanaging your employees, they are never going to learn. And like I said, they're going to end up leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So have that trust, and I love that. Have that trust they have the potential to do the right thing. Don't always micromanage because that could be disastrous.
Totally. And I think it's important to recognize that mistakes happen. You can't let perfect be the enemy of good. And you don't know someone's full potential till you give them a shot. So
Yes,
why limit them before you find out? It's work. I'm privileged that I work at essentially a media company. Granted, we work with a lot of surgeons, but we're not doing surgery. And so our mistakes are, a typo or a social media post we have to take down or a newsletter that maybe went out at the wrong time. Our
right.
mistakes are not ones that stop the world. And so it's good to be accepting of the fact that things might be imperfect and that's where the growth is going to happen. And so, yeah, why limit someone before you know their full potential? I'm always excited to see what someone can do, regardless of their background. I don't care where they went to school. I don't care how long they've worked at the company. If they want to do it and they're excited to do it, I'll move mountains to help support them and give them the tools they need to succeed. And we'll see where it lands. It's exciting.
Absolutely. And you are such an incredible leader, Minou. It's just such a pleasure for employees to have you as a leader because, you offer so much and it's all about offering your employees what can they do best? Because when they can do best, the company's going to thrive ultimately. And with your leadership, it's just absolutely just incredible. How do you find trustworthy people? When you go about the hiring process, how do you go about who is trustworthy?
Oh man, it's hard.
It's hard, yeah.
I love references. I love humans I can contextualize as humans. So while the resume and the screening interview and if there's like a skill assessment test, those are great for hard skills for the actual day-to-day job responsibilities. But the trust and the culture fit I find really comes through in culture interviews where I'll have someone on the team who isn't managing the role or even necessarily on the roles team, getting to know this candidate as a person. And the references really help me as well. I find a lot of my hires lately at RealSelf were like 1 or 2 or 3 degrees removed. The media industry is really small. And so even though I've hired a lot of people I've never met before or worked with before, I could hunt down someone who I also knew. whose opinion I could trust because we have rapport that was built over years, or perhaps we were teammates a decade ago. And so that's been mission critical, I would say, in our interview process, finding those reference points, knowing people as humans. I'd rather hire someone who's a culture fit, and some of those hard skills we really need to handhold and train versus the other way around, because you are who you are. And I can't totally mold you into a new person entirely, but I could totally teach you a formula on Excel or like a different hard skill.
Right. And it's so true. You got to go for the processes. If you don't have the processes already in place, it never really works. So absolutely the references 100% it's got to be there. How do you go through when you're going through the interviewing process? Are there a lot of competition? Because there's a lot of competition out there. What sets one individual apart from another that you're gonna pick that individual? What is that? What does that process look like? Because
Yeah,
everyone's vying for the same job, essentially.
everyone is. And right now, this job market is totally in favor of the employers, not the employees. There's been so much shuffling and shrinking in the media industry and turnover. So we have a huge volume of applicants. It's a good problem to have as a company. For us, we read every single application. It's a little bit crazy, some would say, because they're totally our tools to kind of sift through and filter things through for you. But I got my first job because I had a really strong application and no connection to anyone. And I knew the only way I got it is they had to have read every resume because I had no leg up. And I always think about that and always read everyone's cover letter, everyone's resume. I think people who can really show a clear narrative in their career, whether it's through their resume and or cover letter, really stand out. So a resume that's scattered and you've had 90 different types of roles across different sectors with no through line, it raises flags. However, someone who has had this trajectory, even if it's roles that are peripheral to each other, but you've seen this sort of upward trajectory, this growth, this
Mhm.
ambition, I find that really compelling. I find a really passionate, genuine cover letter that's specific to your company and what they could drive specifically for your business really compelling. That's what really oftentimes gets people to the top of the pile. I've had many, many people who either work at RealSelf or members of my board recommend people. I'll always interview them too. They get zero special treatment. And so far, none of those people have been hired. So, if nepotism works, great. I'll always hire the best person though. And that's the way it's always going to be. And I love the interview process. I think it's exciting, but it is a little bit like trying to find a soulmate. You need to really be diligent. You need to really look for all the clues. You need to make sure you're being really informed, getting context on this person, running a background check. It feels like dating. Like it's high stakes, and it's the person you're going to be around Monday through Friday. So you don't want to subject your team to the wrong hire.
Absolutely. And they've got to, fit in that culture. The culture that you're creating, they've got to fit in. And oftentimes that can be difficult because what if somebody doesn't want to? They know they have the potential to succeed, but they kind of slack off. How do you manage those individuals and shake them up so that they do their best?
Totally. And I've had plenty of experience, throughout my career with that. At RealSelf, everyone we hire has a 90-day sort of trial period in their contract. If you're good at your job and motivated, it should not even make you blink. But every employee, even my CFO, had a 90-day trial period. The reason for that is because we'll always give honest feedback and constructive feedback, but there comes a point where sometimes, rarely, someone is unable to change or adapt. And it gives us as employers the ability to be transparent about our expectations and then the consequences of those expectations. I also, have had experiences hiring folks who come from a really large corporation where they're used to kind of delegating a lot of work. and kind of just really managing teams versus executing. And a lot of those folks I love and adore, and I've worked with a ton of that, but RealSelf isn't that. We're really bringing this nearly 20-year-old company back to its sort of startup origin story. And so we're all operating with a startup founder mindset. You have a CEO without an executive assistant who's making her own decks, pulling her own data. The same expectation happens with everyone else in the org. And so we've been trying to be really transparent about that when we're hiring leadership roles, because that is a different flavor and it's not for everyone. And there's no right or wrong answer. I think it's truly a personal life choice. You either find that invigorating and you're excited to build, or it's just not your cup of tea. And I think that is beyond fair, because it's certainly not an easy path to choose. But we find the more transparent we are in our interview process, the better the outcome.
Absolutely. Minou, you are creative. And, I want to congratulate you. So congratulations on all your success, what you are accomplishing. It's just so truly commendable. And I want to shout out to Lily Bromberg. She's really followed up with me to have you on the podcast. So it's an honor to have you and, share this time with you. You are a quality individual. Absolutely.
Thank you. I mean, truly, same to you. I find the opportunity to talk about my career and be part of a
Yeah.
podcast with like-minded leaders is really inspiring. And I agree, Lily's the best. We have a fabulous PR team and couldn't do it without them. They really connect us to incredible opportunities to just amplify RealSelf. It's such an exciting time for the company. And yeah, it's just been, a really enriching and fun and rewarding opportunity to chat. So thank you for having me.
No, you're very welcome. What is Real Self? What does Real Self do? And what makes a company unique?
RealSelf is essentially like Yelp for plastic surgery. We connect consumers to providers, doctors, treatments, brands that they're curious about or they're ready to execute on. At any stage in your aesthetics journey, we want to help empower you and build your confidence around whatever your version is of self-actualization. And that's where RealSelf really steps in. We connect the dots for consumers across the US with a massive network of doctors, and we bring transparency. We have the highest community on the internet around the aesthetics industry, with user reviews, unfiltered images, befores, afters, and everything in between, so that people feel like they're making a really confident decision. It's all about bringing your inner beauty to your outer beauty and being your best self and being your real self. It's a mission I find incredibly empowering. Aesthetics is becoming an integral piece of pop culture and the beauty landscape. And so people need a destination to power those interests. Right now, what's making RealSelf unique is, we're the most trusted destination. We're the biggest online community. And we're now rebranding to meet the consumers where they are on social, on newsletter, and really rewrap the company around women and their perspective. We want to be, your dialed in bestie who you can trust, who will tell you, you should do this, you shouldn't do this, you should consider this, and did you know about this? We don't want anyone to feel stuck or unable to make a confident, empowering choice.
Absolutely. And I love the standpoint, what the company stands for, what Real Self is, they celebrate, women are celebrating and coming together, sharing their experiences. And this company, Real Self, really stands out. And I absolutely love that, because where do you find a platform where consumers can do that? They can all come together, celebrate their experiences, what they've tried, what do they love about it?
Totally. And I think this plastic surgery and cosmetic industry desperately needed a brand to turn the light on and bring some transparency and bring some realness, because the stakes are high. This isn't just buying a new lipstick. This is your body, it's your face, it's
Yes.
a life choice, and it's an emotional choice. And so I find our community is really the heartbeat of our brand, and we want to honor that. It's why all of our rebranding and all our new initiatives are consumer first, because we believe in the consumer. We believe in the power of scale and pop culture. And bringing people together with that kind of connective tissue through the lens of RealSelf, it's going to be an incredible transformative year. We're really bringing ourselves back to what we do best.
100%. Ultimately, people feel better, and that's what it should be.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Lily, can you share your final question? Can you share 3 life lessons that has really made you a commendable CEO leader, that you served global brands and Fortune 500 companies? What are the 3 life lessons that you can share with our audience?
I would say life is short, and having that perspective and understanding that your job is not the end all be all will free you to operate without fear and relish in the good parts of having a career and teammates. So I would say that would be life lesson number one. I lost my father very unexpectedly when I was 25, and it kind of created like a chemical reaction in my brain where I like to give everything my all, but I also like to recognize that those things and your job are not life or death. And so don't operate from a place of fear. Don't hold yourself back. And things are more fun when you give it your all. So I'd say that's number one, life is short. Number two, life is also long if you're lucky. Your community you're building around, your professional network, your bosses, your colleagues, your interns, it's a very small world and a small industry, and good people who do good work get hired and spoken about highly.
Mhm.
Bad people who could still do good work don't. And so don't forget to be the kind of person that you would want to work with, because it's really important the longer you are in an industry to rise above. And you'll have a lot of moments of frustration, and you have to just continue to be a good person. So I'd say life is short, life is long.
Yeah.
Like lesson number three, I think don't doubt yourself. If you have conviction and data and believe in something you're trying to do, even if others have tried to do it before you and failed, don't limit yourself and believe in yourself. When I was interviewing for this CEO role, candidly, I totally did doubt myself. I'm a woman in her early 30s who'd never been a CEO before. I kind of put society's bad limiting perspective on myself and assumed I just wouldn't get it due to that. And doubting myself was silly because I did get it, and I should have given my board significantly more credit and had more faith. So I think believing in yourself and knowing your worth and moving with conviction would be the third lesson, one that I'm still learning.
Absolutely. I guess, we're learning every single day. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how far you've grown in your position or what you're aiming for. You're always learning. We're always learning every single day from each other. So I think that's the beauty
Mhm.
of being an entrepreneur, that we get to share the experiences with everyone as a collective. That makes us, who we are today.
Totally.
So, Minou, I really want to thank you. You are such an incredible person. You're doing a great job as CEO of RealSelf. And it's such an honor for me today to, really have you on the show. And it's been such an amazing conversation to learn about you. So I'm just so grateful. It really is amazing.
The feeling is totally mutual. Honestly, it's so fun to get to share and talk and reflect, and it's been a really fun whirlwind journey, and I'm only 6 months in. So I'll catch up with you in a few more months when we launch some more stuff. But thank you for having me. It's an honor, truly.
No, absolutely. Well, I look forward to everything that you are doing and seeing your journey unfold as of today.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for each and every one of you who has tuned in, who's listened to the conversation. And Minou Clark, she is such an example of a great leader, CEO of companies that she has led, global brands, Fortune 500 companies. And as entrepreneurs, we all go through diverse and challenging roles, but our defining moment comes down to how do we navigate through those challenges. So I really want to thank each and every one of you who has tuned into this episode with my guest today, Minou Clark, who is such a great example of how entrepreneurs need to lead their companies. So we are grateful to Minou Clark, my guest, grateful to each and every one of you, and take care. And we will see you on the next episode of Ask the Experts. Bye for now. Thank you, Minou. That was a great conversation.
Thanks. Yeah, it was so fun.